Have you ever thought that everyone around you, everyone in your circles, they all know what's going on with you, right? Like we know what's going on in our world, and there's a part of us that just automatically thinks that other people know what's going on with us. Especially if you're spiritual like me, you've been in this process of, we're all going through this awakening. When you go through your spiritual stuff, especially the gooey parts, you have a tendency to isolate, and other folks sort of are an irritant at the beginning. So you have a tendency to isolate. It's just a fact, it's just the way it is. It's really happening, sidebar, because it's trying to clear that clutter around us so we can get clear and go inside. And if there are people in our world that are distracting us, they got to kind of go away so we can go in a little bit deeper. I had a colonoscopy and my heart stopped during that process. So I wrote a blog about that and whatever that entailed and how that changed my world, and it really, really did. But and a lot of people reached out, which I was so excited. I love talking to folks about anything energy. It's like what I live for. So thank you for reaching out. I love having every one of those conversations, and I look forward to having many, many, many more. But my point being for this video is kind of an eye opener for me, because I kept getting this feedback when they were on the call with me, like, hey, I followed you, I've watched your stuff for a couple of years, but there was just like, I really didn't know your story till you started posting these, events, these things that happened to me. So in my mind, I think I'm sharing that the whole time. Reality is, I guess I wasn't. Here's the thing. I channel. I've done it since I was a kid. I didn't know what it was. I've always seen energy around things, and I've always had these conversations with my guides. I used to think I was nuts, and I didn't want to share that with anybody. After a while, you get used to it, and there are things that or they tell you, and then they show up in reality. It really starts to get your attention. In October, before the pandemic hit, they told me that this thing was coming, and that how it was going to change the planet, and on many, many levels, and gave me all kinds of information about that. I wasn't scared about it. I told a few people, but not very many people. I mean, I didn't know what that was. These events keep happening. It's like breathing to me. It happens all of the time. So I have this dialogue with them that's extraordinary, but I never really have allowed them to, I've never surrendered to it. Have all this incredible guidance, but it's always kind of like right here, and I never let them like merge with me. So after this experience that I had in the hospital right before the beginning of 2022, I surrendered. I said, I'm gonna give you guys a year, and we're gonna develop whatever you want to come through me. I'm just gonna be an open channel for you, and I'm just gonna like follow along, and I'm not going to resist. So that was 2022. It was extraordinary. I had all these visions for all these courses, working with people, teaching, like sharing my love, my joy. What I love to do is help people accelerate their evolution. And what I mean by that is we're all evolving, but if you don't know what to let go of, if you don't know how to hone your intuition and connect with your inner self, there's a part of you that's going to be all outside struggling to find what's next for you. And it doesn't work that way anymore. Like, period, full stop. It just doesn't. Everything has to be manifested from the inside out. So I surrendered to that last year, and it was a beautiful thing. I loved it. I fell in love with them. Everything was right on point. One thing led to the next. I'm used to this formula. A lot of people in 3D worlds, they want you to hone in on something and go for it no matter what. Well, the energy doesn't work that way. You follow the breadcrumbs and it leads you. It knows the quickest, easiest way if you just let go. So, but it takes practice, and you got to learn to trust that inner guidance, that knowing that you have. It's a process. And there's a lot of this guy up here, like your mental energy. It's very confusing. And I just happen to have this gift that I see it, and I can just guide people right to what they want really, really quickly without all the bullshit. We have a connection and we can trust each other. That said, more and more people started showing up. It was an amazing year. Got to work with a ton of folks, kind of like helping me with my beta programs, and kind of helping me gain the clarity of is, how do I know intuitively how I do what I do, but how do I express that to somebody that doesn't have they don't have the understanding for it or the wherefore of it, or they don't have guides in their ears talking to them the way my guides do. All of that said, I'm conscious of all of that. Prior to having the event, there was a lot of, I don't want it to be out there because, you know, I'm a real estate agent and, you know, that's a really weird thing. And, you know, that's a different type of universe. However, houses are energy too. I see that, and most of my clients are like that as well. And I recently had this amazing, I've been working for them a really long time, and they have, I'm hesitant about share this story, so I'm gonna be really, really careful to keep anonymity. But it was a long journey, lots of ups and downs, but it finally hit, and it hit at the perfect time. And we just closed on that a couple of days ago. And I was so happy that this happened. And, you know, selling a house and buying a house and this, where we're at with real estate right now, is not the easiest thing in the world. And a lot of things got to line up. And there's a lot of things preventing that from lining up with everything that's going on with interest rates and all of the outside stuff, right? But I know I can manifest anything. So I got really clear that I wanted them to win, and I wanted it to not only win, but be the thing that they were looking for. I created it when they reached out right after Thanksgiving, said, hey, we want to go for this. We found a house, and are you ready? Will you help us? I'm like, absolutely, absolutely. And it did. It all happened so quickly, exactly like what the guide said. I just knew it was like this deal was always ahead of itself. Like we were ready to close a week before it closed. We were waiting on our electrical service company here called Amarin to do some work, and they did. Everything fell into place. Everything. Even the day that they told me that we were going to close, which was 1/1/1, and we did it at 11 o'clock. 1/1/1/1. Like everything was in alignment, right? We were closing in sequence because all the dominoes had to follow path of least resistance so that one could fund the other. Everything really great. And we get out of there, and I started noticing, like, oh, it's 2 o'clock. I haven't heard a funding notification. That's when the house is yours after everything funds. I didn't get the call till 4 o'clock. They had sent the wire at like 1:30 in the afternoon. Normally it only takes 15 to 20 minutes. It didn't show up to 4:08. So there was, you know, it was too late to fund the other deal. So like everything my guides had told me, it didn't happen. And that was the first time that I had that experience. I was disappointed, but I just asked them, like, guys, why? You know, I know everything happens for a reason, but like, why did you tell me all this stuff and this was gonna close today, when I had to call and tell them after every single thing that we'd been through that they have to wait one more day. Now we've been waiting for a long time, one more day. These guys took it like a champ, just went for a walk, but there was a part of me, it was like, everything you've said for a year has been spot on, except for this thing. And then I hear, it's not 5 o'clock yet. But like in my mind, I'm like, well, the system's shut down. You can't, even the title company told me, hey, this can't happen until tomorrow. But after they said, it's not 5 o'clock yet, I get a call. Whoever it was keying it in, and she went to save it for the next day, and it just went through. And it literally got over to the other title company to pay for the other house. So all the dominoes did fall. It all happened by 4:58, before 5 o'clock. Not only that, the seller of the house found out that this was going on, and he just said, no, I don't care about that. Like, I know that this is happening, and I want them to move in. This has been a really long process, and I want this to be over, and they get to go in their house, because they're sitting outside with their moving van. Even at 4:08, when that was impossible, it happened. It happened. I had a belief that was contrary to what was happening outside myself, which didn't allow me to experience the trusting part for that last, well, it was only about 10 minutes when I found out. After that, something clicked, and then I started hearing, it's time for you to start letting us come through you in a new way. I'm open to that. I'm a huge fan of Abraham Hicks. My guys, I call them the Sherpas because they just sort of guide me energetically, and that's what they told me their name was. This next part's a little not scary to me, but it's unknown. I'm having to ask. That's the whole point. I have to ask something. So what I'm asking for is I'm asking for if there's anybody in the surrounding area of St. Louis that has a group of really nice girlfriends, about 9 to 12, little neighborhood things. I can come in a couple of hours, answer some questions with the guides, and allow this to kind of wire in this new way, in this format for me. I just want to create the context for what's happening and the information that's coming through, but it's all to help us integrate spiritual wisdom into our lives so that they work better. You know, like we cannot go outside of ourselves anymore. Everything has to be manifested from the inside out. There is no more rearranging the deck chairs because that's all that's happening. You know, when something's already out there and we think that it's a problem and we focus on that, we just create more problems. The solution is for us to evolve to a space where we look at that from a 30,000 feet view, and it's not a problem. It's actually there to show us where to go and to use that, because we're not using our preferences. We're trying to just fix something so that it's not bugging us, making us uncomfortable. Well, we're supposed to be uncomfortable right now. We're being birthed into something else, something that's workable, something that's sustainable. Like, we can't keep going with this unsustainable way of thinking about everything. Like, gotta knock it off. Gotta stop being right about everything and understand what truth means. We gotta understand what that is and how, like, we get to hold our truth, but the second that we think that our truth relies on somebody else believing our truth, then that's no longer our truth. We're being right about a thought bubble. Like, if you actually believe something and it's true for you, you have no desire to have anyone else believe that with you. Like, it's ridiculous. But we all were sort of like molded into that by how we grew up and the world, and we're all taught to do that. It all came out of this one space. And if you really think about this today, and I'll leave you with this, look around your life today and consider how much of your actions are born out of just trying to survive something. It's a lot. And it's exhausting. It's killing us. Trying to survive is actually killing us, if there was such a thing as death. So what it's trying to do is kill off the survival energy, because it's time to thrive. It's time to live in the abundance that's all around us. Not to say that other stuff doesn't happen, but it happens inside of a context. It's there to show us a preference for something. Not to fix, beat down, or get it out of my view, but to elevate us. You know? It's happening on a personal level, and it's happening on a collective level that's, man, you got to have your head in the sand not to see what's happening on the collective. She's screaming, but nobody knows how to affect a collective. The only way you can is you, me. That's it. But when we align ourselves, we make it possible for people to align with themselves. So, with that, if you're here in St. Louis and you have a space or a group of friends with some questions that you want some answers to, reach out to me and let's set something up. I am just ready to roll with this. And yeah, much love to you guys. I appreciate you watching. I just wanted to share this with you because it was on my heart, and I want to start sharing more of my stories. I want to hear more of your stories. It's how we can connect, but not to wallow in them, but to create even more beautiful stories that we're going to live into, like activating the most powerful thing that we've got on the planet, our vision, our ability to vision a better world for everybody, and then allow people, places, and events to show up to help that be real in the world, because that's what we're here for, is the experience. Might as well make it a great one. Yeah, I'm all for that. That's you. Reach out, much love, and just sharing what's there for me in my heart. Bye, guys. Much love. Have an amazing day.